Hello and welcome once again to the Friday Film Show. As always, I'm your host David O'Sullivan, and this is my weekly show in which I cover everything that's going on in the world of movies, or at least the movies that most interest me. With that being said, let's get straight into this with opening this week, and the films that are opening today in cinemas in the UK are Their Finest, Rules Don't Apply, Sword Art Online, The Belko Experiment, and The Zookeeper's Wife. Now, one of these films I already talked about last week, and that is Their Finest, and also since last week's episode I've also done a kind of full-length, kind of in-depth review of the film as well, so if you want to watch my review of Their Finest, then be sure to go and check it out up on my channel right now. As far as these other films are concerned, I've also seen Sword Art Online as well. It's like the new Japanese anime film based on the popular kind of manga and game of the same name, and it's actually kind of a continuation of the lore and the mythology that's already been kind of set up and explored already. I didn't really know much about it, but it's kind of set after kind of Sword Art Online, and it's the ordinal scale. It's kind of this movie in that same world, but it's a new story, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't really know much about the kind of the lore or any of the kind of the video games or any of the games it was based on, or the manga or anything like that, but I actually really enjoyed myself and I thought it was a pretty good movie. As far as these other films are concerned, I was initially really interested in Rules Don't Apply. Great cast, Warren Beatty film there with Lily Collins and Alden Ehrenreich, I think the new Han Solo, and yeah, it's a really great cast, but apparently it's meant to be kind of just, it's meant to be just okay, but I'm still considering checking it out. If I get the chance to, if I have the time, I might go and see it because it is a great cast. I think it'd be worth seeing just for the cast alone, and Warren Beatty, of course, who also is in the film. And yeah, of course, seen Sword Art Online. The Belko Experiment is also another film I'm kind of interested in. I'm not a big fan of horror, but it's written by James Gunn, I think, produced by James Gunn, and it does look pretty cool. It does look like a kind of more of a kind of cool concept kind of film. I don't know if it's supposed to be that great of a film, but it'll probably still be good fun. I might check that out. And also The Zookeeper's Wife, I definitely want to check this out. It looks really great. Jessica Chastain, Daniel Bruhl. It's a true story set during the war, in which this zookeeper's wife, they're like kind of smuggling in Jews and hiding them out in their zoo there. It looks like a really great film, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out. So The Zookeeper's Wife is probably the one I'm most interested in, but I've also seen Their Finest and Sword Art Online, and I thought they were really good as well. I think Their Finest was my my favourite out of the ones I've seen so far. I also saw The Sense of an Ending, the film the other week. I said I missed the screening of it. I did eventually get around to seeing it at the end, and I enjoyed that movie as well. It was a film where I wasn't that crazy about it. For the majority of the runtime, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I didn't dislike it. I didn't, hate it. I wasn't bored or anything, but I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. But there were certain revelations that came in the third act, and by the time the film wrapped up, I was like, you know what, I did like that. I think that was well done. So there was certain things that happened toward the end of the film where I kind of saw the rest of the film in a new light, and I kind of appreciated what came before more than I did at the time. So I did actually like the film, but Their Finest was my favourite, I would say. Now going on to a quick box office rundown, and the top 10 films of the UK box office from last weekend are The Sense of an Ending, just talking about, cracked the top 10 there. Number 9, Ghost in the Shell. Number 8, Smokes the Lost Village. Number 7, Get Out. Number 6, The Handmaiden. I'm surprised The Handmaiden got that far up in the top 10, since it was a foreign film, but good word of mouth, obviously. Number 5 is Going in Style. Number 4, Peppa Pig, my first cinema experience. Number 3, Beauty and the Beast, still holding on in there in the top 3. Number 2, The Boss Baby, and The Boss Baby this week has been dethroned by none other than, of course, The Fate of the Furious, which isn't surprising, with a weekend gross of 13 million. The Boss Baby at 3 million, so big difference there. Beauty and the Beast at 2 million. So yeah, not that surprising really. I would have been shocked if Fate of the Furious wasn't number 1, and quite a big, weekend gross there. Of course, Beauty and the Beast is still doing well, still holding on in there in the top 3. I'm surprised Going in Style is that high, that in the top 5 there. Handmaiden, I'm very surprised the Handmaidens quite hurt that. I don't really know much about the Handmaiden. I know it's supposed to be really great, but I'm pretty sure it's a foreign film, so it's quite, interesting actually that a foreign film has got that high up in the UK box office. But like I said, I think it's got really good word of mouth, and people are really interested in checking it out, because it came out, I think it was first released last year, but it's finally just been released in the UK, like last week I think it was. Get Out still in there, Smurfs still in there, Ghost in the Shell as well, and I'm really happy that Sensible Ending has cracked the top 10 because, like I said, I don't think it was an amazing film. I didn't love it, but I did think it was a good film, and I did like it. So I'm glad it's just scraped on in there in the top 10. And going into movie news here, and I've got a few items of movie news that I picked out over the past week. And the first, about a week ago, we got a report saying that Watchmen is supposedly getting an R-rated animated adaptation. It's an upcoming made-for-video movie. It's going to be a faithful adaptation of the Watchmen graphic novel, executed in an animation style that mirrors the source material. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. Obviously, we've got the animated Justice League Dark, which I have not seen, and of course the animated Batman the Killing Joke, which wasn't well received. Again, I haven't seen that either, but apparently, a lot of people weren't, happy with the first act of that film and changes that were made, in that it wasn't very faithful. I mean, apparently it was faithful from the first act onwards, but there was stuff that they kind of added in there that people weren't keen on, and apparently it was a bit of a kind of a lackluster adaptation. Again, I haven't seen Justice League Dark either. Animated Watchmen movie, I'm not necessarily against this. I don't know if it's really necessary because I don't love Zack Snyder's Watchmen, but I think it's a good film. I do like it, and it is very faithful, regardless of what you think about the film. Just from a visual perspective, it looks exactly like the graphic novel brought to life on the big screen. And there were changes that were made. Alan Moore, the writer of the graphic novel, he didn't like the film. I mean, I think they did change the ending, but from what I've heard, I think the ending in the film, most people think is better than the ending of the graphic novel. They prefer that, and they think it makes more sense. But yeah, so I'm not sure if this is really necessary or not. It'd be cool to see. I'm not necessarily against this. I think it probably make more sense doing a kind of animated Watchmen movie than doing another live action film. But I would be kind of up for another Watchmen TV show, like a live action TV series. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I still really want that to happen. That'd be really cool. Animated movie, okay, yeah, maybe, whatever. Again, the whole kind of reasoning behind this is that they want to make it more faithful, but I think Zack Snyder already gave us an incredibly faithful adaptation already, especially from the visuals of that movie that he did. So yeah, okay, I'm not against this, but I'm not sure if it's really necessary, but I'll probably check it out when it does eventually come out. And next up, of course, this was a piece of news that dropped at Star Wars Celebration last weekend. It's that Star Wars legend Carrie Fisher will not appear in episode 9 after all, because on last week's show I reported that she was going to be in episode 9 because her brother Todd Fisher came out saying that she was going to be in it, but apparently there was some kind of mix-up or confusion, and Kathleen Kennedy's come out now saying that she's not going to be in episode 9. She didn't say the character of Leia is not going to appear, but she said that Carrie Fisher will not be in episode 9. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this, because we don't know if Leia's going to be in it or not, because she didn't say Leia, she said Carrie Fisher. I'm pretty sure CGI has been ruled out, because if she said Carrie Fisher was not going to be in the film and then we'd see CGI Carrie Fisher, I don't think that would sit well with a lot of people. I think that would kind of, rub people up the wrong way. But I'm kind of glad she's not going to be in it in a way, because, I don't know, because she's not long passed away, and I think it would make sense to kind of maybe slightly change things up. But at the same time, if it was, set up for her to have a really big part in episode 9, I kind of hope they recast. I don't know, like, I know it's like Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher is Princess Leia, but at the same time, I don't really want them to completely ruin the film. If they can change it so that it still works really well, or just as well a different way without Princess Leia being in episode 9, then I'm up for that. Maybe she does die in episode 8. Obviously, we don't know what happens in episode 8. They haven't said that she, survives episode 8, so maybe she does die in episode 8, but I'm pretty sure not that long ago they revealed that she was going to have a major part in episode 9. They're going to have to completely change things. So if that is the case, then I kind of do hope they recast. I know it'd be very weird and very odd to see someone else in that role, but at the same time, if she does have a really big part in the story carrying over into episode 9, I hope they do bring in some other actress in there, if it's Annette Bening or, I don't know, whoever, to play that role, so that it makes sense. Because if she's got a big story that's carrying over into the final installment in the trilogy, and then she's suddenly not there, and they just suddenly write her out, or she's suddenly just been killed off, it'll be like, wait, what? Like, I don't know, like, I know it'd be kind of, maybe it's more respectful to Carrie Fisher to just leave it and not bring back Leia, but I think it would be more respectful to bring the character back. I mean, I don't know how she would feel if like all the hard work she's put into kind of playing that character for them to suddenly just write her out of it. Oh no, she's gone now, bye. Like what? Like if she does play a big part carrying over into episode 9, I kind of hope they do continue on with it, and I think that would be more respectful to Carrie Fisher to continue on with that character and continue that story just with someone else, you know, filling that role. I don't know, I would probably more like to see that. Like, it's not like I'd love to see someone playing a role other than Carrie Fisher, of course not, but the reality is that, you know, she can't play that role anymore now, and if she does have a big part, General Leia, General Organa in episode 9, I hope that they do carry on with that story. And like I said, I'm not against them changing it up. If they can change it in a way where it still works, or it works in a way where, you know, it doesn't completely ruin the kind of the arc of the trilogy, if you will, then I'll be okay with that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we have no idea what's going to happen. We'll probably have a better idea after episode 8, and we'll see what actually happens in episode 8. Maybe she does die in episode 8. Maybe they'll change certain things so that she does end up, you know, dying or sacrificing herself at the end of episode 8, and then it'll make sense why she's not in episode 9. But who knows? It's all speculation at this point. Next up is that James Gunn has announced that he is going to return to write and direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'm so happy about this. I haven't seen Volume 2 yet. I'm going to be seeing it next Thursday, I think it is, but I'm just so happy. I mean, I haven't seen Volume 2 yet, but I'm pretty sure it's great, you know. What I love about this is that whenever I watch any interviews or anything with James Gunn, whenever he's kind of posting anything, you can tell that he has such a kind of love for these characters and this source material. Not that I don't want anyone else to ever touch Guardians ever, you know, and not that no one else can do it. I just feel like James Gunn is such a big part of why that first Guardians movie was so successful. Like, he did such a great job with that first movie. It looks like he's done another real great job with the second movie. It would just feel weird and odd for someone else to come in and do the third installment. And we've seen with past franchises when the director of the first two that were great leaves, the third one's then pretty lackluster and not that great, you know, with the X-Men trilogy, Bryan Singer doing those first two really great installments, and then Brett Ratner coming in last minute to direct the third one, and it didn't really work. I think it would be so much better for James Gunn to do all three. It just makes sense. And, you know, I get the fact that, oh, maybe it would be good to kind of change them a bit and kind of have some kind of fresh blood in there, someone else having a go at it. Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, he's done the first one, he's done the second one. I feel like it just makes sense for him to close out the trilogy there with the third one. And especially with this franchise of Guardians, it's so much of James Gunn, and so much of like his input goes into this film. As you can tell, he just has a real deep love and care and affection for them. You can feel his passion coming through there when you're watching the film, and when you know, watching him kind of talk about the film. I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm so glad he's coming back. So yeah, and even though, you know, Joss Whedon did the first two Avengers movies and he's not doing the third one, even though I love the first two Avengers movies, I'm not, you know, that upset about that, because the Russo brothers did a great job of Winter Soldier, which I liked probably more than the Avengers movies, and I love Civil War as well, so I'm glad they're coming back to do the Avengers Infinity War movies, because as great a job as Joss Whedon did with those first two Avengers movies, it's not like, you know, we've seen from other directors like the Russos that they've got just as strong a hold on these characters, maybe even more so. But with James Gunn, it's like, he's synonymous with Guardians even more so than Joss Whedon was with the Avengers, I would say. So I'm so glad he's going to come back to do the third one. I could not be happy about that. And next up is that Suicide Squad star Will Smith is reportedly in talks to play the Genie in Disney's live-action Aladdin movie. And when I first heard this, I was like, what? I don't know, but if this does end up happening, I'm not necessarily against this, because, you know, no matter who they cast in this role, it's going to be like, ugh, because Robin Williams is the Genie, you know. I think that is probably the best, you know, character to voice kind of performance in any animated movie we've ever seen. He just did such an incredible job, and it's going to be so hard to see anyone else in that role. And maybe they'll change it up and do something different. I kind of hope they do stick to what it's like in the animated movie, but I think casting someone like Will Smith would be a good idea. He's not my choice. He wouldn't have been one of my choices to play the role, but you want someone who's got that charm and that charisma, and Will Smith can do that, and it also, with Will Smith, it wouldn't be like a Robin Williams impression. I don't want them to cast someone where it's like they're just trying to do an impression of Robin Williams. I feel like with Will Smith, like I said, he's got that charm, that charisma. He can sing. I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And when you're watching Will Smith as a genie, you won't be thinking Robin Williams. You'll just be thinking Will Smith because he'll be doing his thing. You know, when you watch Will Smith in a movie, it's always like Will Smith. It's never like you're watching someone else. So, you know, I think that's a good thing in that it won't feel like he's doing a Robin Williams impression. I don't think it will be Will Smith. It will be Will Smith's take on that character. I always like the idea of maybe Jim Carrey doing the genie because I just like the idea of, like, Robin Williams is kind of a crazy kind of comedic actor, and I love Jim Carrey. I know he hasn't done anything in quite a while, but maybe Jim Carrey is maybe a little bit too old now, but I would have loved to have seen Jim Carrey in that role. And I don't think Jim Carrey, it would have been more similar to Robin Williams if Jim Carrey was to play the character, but again, I think Jim Carrey, it would still be very much its own thing. It wouldn't be like he was doing an impression of Robin Williams. But with Will Smith, if they do end up casting Will Smith, I'm not necessarily against it. So I don't hate this decision. Like I said, he wouldn't have been my choice, you know, but I could see it working out, and I could see him doing a good job in the role. Like, no one's going to come close to Robin Williams. You know, comparisons are always going to be drawn, but I feel like Will Smith is different enough, but he's also got that kind of necessary kind of charm and charisma and humour and fun and energy where he'll be able to kind of do his own thing and have his own take on the character. So, you know, we don't know if this is going to happen or not. It's not been confirmed yet. He's not been kind of locked down to play that character, but if it does end up happening, I'm not necessarily against this. I think it could work out. And next up, and this last piece of movie news here, is that Joss Whedon reveals that his Batgirl movie will explore why Barbara Gordon dons the cape and the cowl. And he also touched on the fact that he likes the idea of casting an unknown actress, and he doesn't want it to be a big name. And I like that idea as well. I don't think we need a kind of big famous actress in the lead role. I think it would be good if it's more of an unknown actress, because then we won't be seeing the actress, we'll be seeing her as Batgirl. The comments that he said exactly were, she came up and I started getting obsessed with how a young woman could get hardcore enough to need to put on the cowl. Like, what's her damage? She didn't have her parents killed in an alley. Who is this person? Who decides, rather than being forced by their childhood trauma, decides to pick up this life? How intense and driven that person is. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. The more I hear about this, the more excited I get, because I know it's like Batgirl, you know, it's a bit random out of left field, but you know, Batgirl is not one of my favourite comic book characters or anything, but I just love Joss Whedon. I know he's always wanted to do kind of other stuff in the comic book genre, not just like Marvel, not just Avengers. Now he's getting a chance to do a DC movie with Batgirl. I think it'll be great. I don't know if it's going to fit into the larger plans they have with their cinematic universe or how connected to the other films it's going to be, but I would watch it even if it was just a standalone film about Batgirl, because I think Joss Whedon's going to do a real great job with this. Obviously, we don't really know much about the film, or like, I don't think they've even begun pre-production yet. Maybe they have, I don't know. But the fact that Joss Whedon's going to be doing this movie just gets me so excited, because he's so great at writing films that, you know, revolve around strong female characters. I mean, Serenity with River there, so great. You know, Buffy, of course. So, you know, I could not be happier. I think if anyone can deliver us a real great, kick-ass, awesome Batgirl movie, it's Joss Whedon, and I really cannot wait to see this. You know, there's not that many DC movies coming out that I'm really excited for, but this is one of them, just because of the talent behind the camera there with Joss Whedon, one of my favourite writer-directors. I cannot wait to see what he does with this. I'm just really excited. And there we go, that wraps up with movie news. And next up, I've got new movie trailers, and of course, last weekend was Star Wars Celebration. We had the Last Jedi panel there with Rian Johnson, you know, Daisy Ridley, Mark Hamill, John Boyega came out, and of course we got, as we were all expecting, the Last Jedi teaser trailer. And yeah, obviously everyone's raving about this. I mean, I know there are some people out there like, oh, it was a bit underwhelming, it was a bit disappointing, you know, it wasn't that great. And I can see where they're coming from, because it's not a kind of a really kind of big, showy kind of, you know, thing. But I kind of liked that it was more understated in a way. You know, there wasn't that many big money shots, but big kind of things where it was like, oh my god! But I don't think they were really going for that. I think they were going for more of a kind of a mysterious, kind of more of a darker, more somber, dramatic tone. And I like that, because it is kind of similar to the first teaser, to The Force Awakens in a way, in how it's constructed and certain shots that they use. But at the same time, The Force Awakens the whole marketing campaign for The Force Awakens was this fun, feel good, nostalgic, kind of Star Wars is back. Whereas this, it's like, okay, we're going to go a little bit darker now. We're going to go a little more deeper into these characters, and it's going to get a little bit more kind of, I don't know, just darker and complex. I know it's like the obvious, cliche thing to go, oh, it's going to be like The Empire Strikes Back, of this new trilogy. But I think it is going to be kind of still like The Force Awakens, but it's going to be kind of more intense, I think, more kind of serious, more dramatic. I think it's going to go deeper into these characters. And as far as the trailer is concerned, I like the trailer. It didn't blow my socks off. I wasn't like, oh my god, but I did probably like it more on repeat viewings. And of course we get that big moment at the end. I was so expecting, it's time for the Jedi to return. It's like, time for the Jedi to end. Whoa, okay. I didn't see that coming, but and it's just got me thinking, and I just cannot stop thinking about it now. And just some quick theories and speculations swirling around in my head, and certain things that I've read online, certain comments that I've seen. I think, I could be wrong, this is just sort of speculative on my part, but I think that what Luke means is that, I think the Last Jedi is Luke. He is the last of the original Jedi, but he's kind of had enough of the old ways. He's like, it's not worked. So many times we've tried to do this. I've tried to bring the Jedi back with this new Jedi Order. It all went bad again. Kylo Ren wiped them all out. It's not working here. The Jedi, Sith, they're kind of old ways that don't work anymore. They never did. I feel like it's time for this Jedi as we know it to end now. I am the last Jedi, but Rey, you will be the first Grey Jedi. That's how I see it. Luke's last of the original Jedi. He's the last Jedi now. And then after him, Rey will be the first Grey Jedi. I really feel like Luke in this new trilogy is going to have the mindset of, we've got to go grey here. We can't, the old ways of just all light or either all darkness doesn't work. He can't just be all one of those things. It doesn't work. So I feel like Luke's kind of so we see a symbol in a book in the trailer, and I think that's a symbol for the Grey Jedi. I may be wrong, but I feel like Luke's under the mindset now of, we need to go grey here. We need to have a bit of light and a bit of darkness together. We need to create a new Jedi Order now with the Grey Jedi. I was the last of the original Jedi, but now I think he's going to be training Rey to be the first of the Grey Jedi. That's how I see it anyway. I could be completely wrong. Maybe that's not what they're doing at all, but I think that's what they're going to be doing here. Because I feel like when Rey first meets Luke, he's going to be like, no, I've had enough. And it makes sense now, him saying, it makes sense him saying it's time for the Jedi to end, because in the end of The Force Awakens, he looks really kind of angry and kind of pissed when Rey's holding the lightsaber. I was like, why does he look like that? He's like, now it kind of makes sense, because I'm guessing the very next moment is him going to be like, go away. What are you doing with that lightsaber? No, that's gone now. The Jedi's over. It's time for the Jedi to end. Just go away. And I feel like Rey's going to convince him to train her, and they're going to kind of become the first of the Grey Jedi. That's how I see it anyway. Probably going on a bit too much here. Overthinking this a bit too much. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi. And also, non-Star Wars related, we've got the first trailer for American Assassin, and this is a film that I really didn't know anything about. I think I've seen some pictures of like a film with Logan Lerman, Michael Keaton, but I really didn't know anything about it, and this trailer blew me away. It looks so awesome. Oh my god, it looks so good. It's coming out September time, I think. I could be wrong, but coming out later this year. And it just looks really great. It just looks so cool. Logan Lerman there. I'm not the biggest fan of Logan Lerman, although he was my pick for Spider-Man, actually. I like him in the Maze Runner films. I think he's good. But in this trailer, my god, he looks so good. Everyone's going about Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton is so great in this trailer. I was like, why is everyone going about Michael Keaton? Because Logan Lerman is looking really good in this. But then when Michael Keaton comes in, I'm like, okay, I get it now. Michael Keaton is just so good. He can play so many really different types of characters, and we're just seeing him here as this almost kind of like John Wick kind of master assassin training these kids. And Logan Lerman is just this guy who lost his girlfriend or something to terrorists, and now he's going on this Batman vengeance thing to try and take them out, and he's been trained by Michael Keaton there. It just looks so cool. Like, I am all in with this. I really didn't know anything about this film before I saw this trailer, but now it's probably one of my most anticipated films of the year, of the second half of the year anyway. It just looks so cool. I cannot wait to check it out when it is released. And yeah, wrapping this up now with this week in review and my top 5 films currently playing in UK cinemas right now. Obviously there's some that I haven't seen, but coming in at number 5 I have The Sensible Ending. At number 4 I have Their Finest. At number 3, Free Fire. At number 2, The Lost City of Zed. And at number 1, it's still Logan. I know Logan's been my number 1 and Lost City of Zed's been my number 2 for ages now, but I'll leave it until it's been about kind of 8 or 10 weeks since Logan's come out, and then I'll take it off, because, you know, if you haven't seen a film after like 2 months, then you're probably not going to see it. And they're pretty sure they're still playing in cinemas right now. But yeah, my film of the week for this week, I'm going to give to one of the new releases, and that is Their Finest. I did like Sensible Ending too, but Their Finest, I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time watching that film. As I said, I've already done a review for Their Finest, so be sure to check it out if you want to know more in depth of what I think about the film. So yeah, my film of the week for this week is Their Finest. And there we have it, that wraps up this week's instalment of the Friday Film Show. If you missed last week's episode, then be sure to go ahead to click over here to catch up on last week's episode of the Friday Film Show. And like I said, if you want to watch my review for Their Finest, then be sure to click down here to watch my review of Their Finest. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, then be sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.